Today, Dr. Sarah Webb is back and she's sharing some insights on playing pickleball indoors this winter. Just a few days after we shot this video, she emailed me an article. 20 members of the same pickleball club in Canada caught COVID from playing together indoors. She's sharing her insights on what you can do if you're moving inside to play pickleball. But before we get to that, it wouldn't be the holidays without telling you how much we appreciate you and sharing some gifts. What better gift for a pickleball player than a paddle? That's why Tony Roy from Into Pickle and I have teamed up with the folks over at Your Pickleball Place for the Holiday Happiness Giveaway. It's free to enter, and not only are there paddles, there's other great pickleball swag. Check out all the details in the show notes below. Good luck. Now, here's Sarah. You may recognize the lady on the other side of the screen. She was here in August of 2020 talking about COVID and pickleball and the things that we can do to stay safe. And I'd like to welcome her back, Dr. Sarah Webb. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I'm doing great because it's not raining today and I can play pickleball.
For those of you who didn't see our August broadcast, Sarah is in quote unquote, right, sunny Seattle. All right, Sarah, as we jump into this, why don't we start with your credentials? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm retired now, but for many years, 30 years, I was a pathologist. And for many of those years, I was the chief of the infection control at the hospital and also the director of the microbiology lab at the hospital.
There have been some things that have changed with COVID, and I know that a lot of you have had some questions because you are going to be transitioning possibly from outdoor play to indoor play. So we thought it was a great time to get back together and to discuss some of the things that the scientific community has learned and to allow Sarah to address some of the questions that I've been getting from you about indoor play. So, Sarah, why don't we start with just the general guidelines? What's changed since our last conversation?
The main two things that we've learned a lot more about are what's called fomites, which means virus particles that get stuck on inanimate objects. This is one way that a lot of other viruses spread, like the common cold and the flu. But we found that the COVID virus does not spread that way very readily. And in fact, the virus, and especially on things like pickleballs, which, well, they're smooth when you first get them, but they don't stay that way for long. Rough surfaces like that, the virus does not adhere to. So I'm a lot less worried about the balls. In the original recommendations, I was recommending bleaching the balls and wiping down the balls between play and not sharing balls between courts, but I'm not concerned about that anymore because that's not a method of transmission. And similarly for the paddles, we still try not to touch each other's paddle handles, but we're not so upset about if you want to paddle stack. I think that's okay to do that. The other thing that's changed is we know a lot more about different types of masks, and we can talk more about that when we talk about indoor pickleball.
Now, Sarah, I know you addressed this issue last time, but I am still seeing some gloves showing up at the pickleball courts. So, can you talk again about the guidance on using gloves for pickleball?
Well, that's related to what I just said. Now that we know that the virus is not transmitted much by touching things, there's really no reason at all to think that gloves are going to protect you. They didn't protect you before, but now there's even more reason to not wear them.
Okay, let's talk about playing inside. I'm getting a lot of questions about is it safe to do and what are some of the recommendations that you have for playing inside? Maybe specifically, we should start with masks.
We've learned a lot since the beginning of this pandemic about different types of masks. Obviously, we don't want to be wearing an N95 mask because they're still in short supply and the hospitals need those. but we have found that the surgical type masks are much more efficient in preventing the droplet spread compared to cloth masks. Cloth masks are okay for outside. In fact, I have a really cute pickleball cloth mask that I like to wear. But inside, surgical masks are much more efficient, and that's what would be better to wear inside. And recently, we've also found out that the masks protect you as well as protecting other people. So that's even more incentive to wear them.
Sarah, tell us, if everyone is wearing masks, would it be okay to have open play?
I really don't think that's a good idea, CJ. The surgical masks and cloth masks are not fitted to your face, and particularly around the sides of them, a lot of air can escape. They do um, block a lot of the droplets, but particularly where if you're breathing heavy, they found out that the aerosols can escape out the side of the mask. So um, I really don't think that's a good idea because most of us are breathing pretty heavy. I don't know about you, but when I run back to get a lob and run back to the kitchen line, I'm breathing pretty heavy. So I don't think the mask is going to be very effective in that case. So I think it's better to limit your play to people in your bubble.
Sarah, I think that in your own household is pretty self explanatory, but let's talk about that bubble. Expand on that just a little bit more, if you would, please.
You know, obviously, I'm kind of thinking of doubles because we my group always plays doubles, but the best scenario would be able to be playing singles if you're going to be inside, or you could play skinny singles if you're not able to play singles. But if you do play doubles, and I'm talking about my group plays outside, but inside, if you play doubles, you really need to limit your bubble really to just four people that you play with all the time. And they've found out, public health officials have found out that the people are expanding their bubbles and getting more and more people in their bubbles, and that's one of the things that's causing the virus to spread at this point. So just keep it as small as you can.
Sarah, is there anything else that you would like to remind the better pickleball community about when it comes to COVID and staying safe?
Well, we're all getting COVID fatigue, and people are getting sometimes a little lax about um, keeping up with precautions. It's just hard to do something for such a long time, and but this is not the time to give up on those because this is actually going to be a very difficult time with the winter coming and more people being inside in the holidays. The cases are already going up, and they're going to go up even more. And I know it's frustrating because we all want to play as much pickleball as we can, and it's hard when it's raining and or snowing and you can't play outside. You want to go inside, but we still have to keep up with precautions, keep everybody safe.
Thank you again, Sarah. We really appreciate your time and expertise.
Sure, thanks for having me.